right, I've got 7 o'clock. I think we'll get started. Okay. All right. So nice to see you all here. My name is Sir Pelinor, and we are going to be talking about how to use a backup weapon in melee when you're fighting with a spear. So the intent on this class is to show how a spearman in a melee on the defensive can become the aggressor. This is achieved by changing the measure of the fight. In other words, by changing where the fight will happen, so that it is happening where the opponent does not expect it. And by the way you're going to achieve that is when he's coming forwards towards you, he's expecting you to go backwards. You're actually going to go towards him and attack when he's expecting you to run. Okay. Now in a melee, if you don't kill your opponent right away and it becomes a prolonged fight, at that point you want to get out of dodge and get back in with your line and get help. So this is meant to be just a quick couple second thing and then get back. We'll start with the weapon. Any short single-handed weapon is what I suggest. I use a mace, a dangle mace, or you can use a dagger. Man, that's not coming out very well, is it? Let me do this. I'm going to go to no background. You're going to see my shop, but that's okay. So I've got a little dagger that can be used, and you can put that in either in a front hanger or on the back or down on the side. The important thing is that you need to be able to get it out that quick, very quickly. Putting it back, well, you'll either be dead or you'll be moving away from him and you'll have more time to put that back in. The dangle mace, I'm going to talk about that a second. That is basically the same motion, except I do things a little bit differently than what most people expect. I'm going to share this video. 1 second here. Let me get this back here. All right, so what I'm going to show here, this flip up like that. Can you all see this? Okay, the flip up like that is what most people think. But what in Dark Moon, what we do is, let me back that up a little bit. What we do is just drop the hand. You open your hand and then you just drop it. And the way this is slung, we'll show you in a second here, it just drops right into the palm of your hand. We'll show that here. Okay. You see how my lanyard, how short it is? You see where the butt end just fits right into the palm? That's how that works. That way, all you have to do is put your hand down like that, except you're going to be pointing your palm back. I think I got to, just like, okay, here it goes. Down, open your hand, put it down. It's basically almost around your haft already. Close your hand and then bring it up and around. And here we're going to do the whole thing all at once. Right there. And you'll notice that when you bring your hand down and bring it up behind you, it's mostly hidden until you're ready to strike someone. And a lot of people don't even see that coming or don't even see it all set. Let's see what else I have on that. There it is again. All right, I can close that one. Any questions on how that works? Okay.
When you have it suspended from your wrist there, does that cause problems when you're trying to throw shots if it's swinging up and into the way of things?
When I'm throwing shots with the spear, right?
Yeah, when you're throwing shots with the spear.
It can. I had problems with it at first, fighting right hand back, where it would swing around. And that's part of the reason why I switched to left hand back, because my front hand didn't jump around like that as much. Now, I'm not going to tell you there are no problems, but it will still sometimes go up and over my spear, but not that often. I think that it's going to be a personal preference on whether you like that or not.
Yeah.
And that's also the reason why I showed the short sword or the dagger.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Because there's actually things that you can do with the dagger that you can't do with the mace, like a lot of the stabbies, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit also.
All right.
Awesome. And actually, it'd be the same motion. Have it over your shoulder like that, and you can either swing with it, or from here you can just do a quick stab in. So really, the type of weapon is personal preference, especially if you don't like the mace banging around like that. All right, so that's how to get a dangle mace out. There's also a little bit on how to get the dagger out. Now, what we're going to talk about is how do you go from having your spear pointed forward to integrating your mace and your spear, because now your spear is going to be your shield when that guy starts coming in. You may take a shot at him at extreme range, either to get his shield to come up or make him move, or maybe he's open, maybe his shield is open a little bit, and you can get a shot either over the top or maybe around to the side, which a left hand back helps you get around a shield a little bit easier on a right-hander. So I've got another little video here that we're going to watch. Stop. Back. Let me share that. Okay, can you see this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here goes. So what just happened there, I'm going to back up, is the motion, you're holding your spear like you normally would, and this is right hand back. In right hand back, you're going to tilt your front hand up, push down with your back hand. So basically you're making it go vertical. Here it goes. See that? And then it slides in your hand so that the butt goes almost down to the ground. And now that becomes your shield, and you're bringing it across your body to the left-hand side. Now, from there, you'll notice that your hand is almost in the position that you want to grab your mace, or even one of a dagger if that's what you're using. See that? Any questions on that movement? You want me to go back and show it again?
Yeah, if you could, because for some reason it's not playing on my end. It's just frozen.
Oh, okay. Let me go back here.
It's at the 2-second mark, and it didn't move from there.
All right. I'm going to close it and open it again. All right. Is it there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you see it moving now?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll back it up. All right. So we push on the butt down, let it slide, let your hand slide up. Did you see that time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. And then that's where your hand is all set for your mace. And now that is where you're going to receive, then you're ready for what you need to do next against your opponent. I think I do it. Okay, now I'm doing it left hand back. This is a little different because you want to push up with your front hand, with your right hand. And then your left hand slides right up in the same position. And there again, your hand is going down, and you grab your mace and bring it up and around. Now, something here, oops, something I want to point out is once you get to this point, I'm almost, let me get my hand up in the back position here. Right there, I'm not in an A-frame, it's more of the, I think they call it the, not a dangle, but just a back, your weapon's behind your shoulder. And my feet, you can't see my feet, sorry about that, but the front foot, my left is in front, and it's aiming more to the center of your opponent. And the reason for that is from there, you can either move your left hand to the right and move that way, or left foot to the right and move that way for an offside, or more likely, you're already in a position where your left foot's in the center and you're going to step to the right and forward and let the charging opponent come to you and kind of quarter in. And I will show you that in another video here. Get this open. Okay, can you see that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here we go. So what we have is I'm already in my attack position. I have my opponent coming at me in sword and shield. He's going to come straight in. This is in slow motion. He's throwing an onside shot. Now, here, you notice that I moved out with my spear to block, okay? And the reason for that is he's going to go back and he's going to throw a wrap shot. There it is, and I'm blocking out because if I didn't block out and I blocked in close and he was still coming in, his wrap shot is going to probably go right around my spear and hit me in the head. So you really need to block out farther so that doesn't happen. The other thing that does is they're not used to people blocking out like that, maybe punch blocking. So especially with a spear or a pole, so you can just kind of jam them up a little bit. Now, from there, see if it's okay. He's coming in, I block out, see me step out wide to the right and forward, and I'm going around his shield basically. And if he was moving forward and kind of charging in like shieldmen do on spears, he would still have that forward momentum and keep going past me. And at this point, I've got a shot to the back of his head, his back, or even his leg. Okay. And when you throw, you never throw just one shot. You need to throw 2 or 3 because they might think it's a bump from somebody, or they might not realize that you're actually hitting them with something. So you need to actually put several shots on them so that they know that you actually hit them. Now, I'm not saying I aim for metal bits because I don't really want to hurt anybody. And if you have clackers, which I suggest on your backup weapon, or solid rattan, that will actually make that tink that you're used to from a rattan sword on metal, as opposed to a bump or a thump that you might get from a rubber mace head. And they just get used to hearing that. Okay, I'm gonna run through the rest of this. That's it. Are there any questions at this point? Everybody understand what's going on there? So what we've done is changed the measure, the plate or the place where the fighting happens from maybe 5 or 10 feet back to actually a few feet forward, and your opponent is not expecting that. Sometimes they will just kind of you'll get them to just jerk a little bit or just just freeze for just a half a second, which is enough time to attack them. Now, something else I have for you here is most of the time an opponent is going to use an onside or maybe a wrap shot. But what do you do if they use a straight down shot, which is actually the shot that you want to use against a spear or a pole arm to be better effective at killing them. So here we go. He's throwing a straight down shot. You see how I blocked sideways? I just kind of sweep it. And now he's going to throw another shot, sweep, and now that offside is there. There again with your front leg in the center, you can take advantage of that and sweep and then hit that backside. There again, hitting it more than once. What this is showing is just him moving forward and me moving to the side and being able to hit that side. And even if you don't kill him, I move on. I'm going back to my line, just ending that whole encounter. There we go. I'm just checking my notes here real quick. Okay. Some other things that you might be able to do. Well, any questions at this point? Everything's understandable. It's fairly quick. The best thing you can do during this is not freak out. Keep calm. You know what you're doing, especially if you've practiced this. As long as you keep calm and just watch what's happening, you'll be able to adjust to whatever he is doing, and he won't even know what's actually happening. So keep calm. Get your mace or your backup weapon up where it needs to be. Get your spear out so you can block out here or do a sweep. A lot of times when a spearman comes in, they get past, you've thrown a shot, they get past that tip, you get it back here, you get it up, and they're thinking, all right, I got past this tip, there's nothing you can do. They're coming in. Sometimes they'll open up their shield so they can actually move forward faster. And that's a good thing for you, because if he throws a shot and his shield is over here, then you can actually go from here and do a straight down center line shot for the face or even the body, and still be covered as far as if he's trying to shoot or trying to hit you. Yeah, so it's a big thing. Don't panic. Different things you can do to practice at home is just pulling your backup weapon as fast as you can and getting it ready. Also, at the same time, you could be flipping your 9-foot spear up and getting that into your shield position. Keep working on that, and then start using it in melees or having somebody come at you, maybe half speed at first, so you can get the motions down. It'll take a while. I know it did for me. I got hit a lot until I got a lot better at it. Any more questions? That's about what I've got for you for using a backup weapon in melee. There's probably some other things that I can show you if you catch me on the field. But it will, if you learn this and get it down and working for you, like I said, it might take a while, but you'll really be glad that you did, rather than just relying on defense with your spear or trying to get that back up and trying to get a poke in. It's always good to have that backup weapon.
I do have one question about dagger use.
Oh, we didn't talk about that, did we? What's your question?
I have not really used a dagger much. What do you think of the ice pick grip in terms of general effectiveness and specifically power generation?
And that'd be point down, right?
Yeah, point down.
Okay, so how do I
A bit like a
unshare?
rondel dagger.
Yeah, yeah. I want to get this into the larger screen here. How do I unshare this? Sorry about that.
No worries.
You should just be able to hit the same thing at the bottom and stop sharing.
Okay. It's not showing up. Maybe if I just do this. Okay. So if you have a rondel dagger, where do you wear your rondel dagger?
Well, I haven't yet. I'm looking into getting a backup weapon.
Okay. Okay. So Cope is on here. I know she has one. I believe it's center, right? Right in center in her belly. So she can, or in the side. So instead of I know this instead of going like this to get your mace, you can come here, right, and just pull it straight up. And if that's what you're used to using, or if that's what you practice with, that's fine, because you can still block, and or if you sweep, you can block and then go for that offside dagger shot in the face, or even if you step to the side, get that dagger shot in the not in the back of the head, because that probably you can't stab there, but stab their back several times. You may have to, as you block and then step over, you might have to shift your spear and jab it into and kind of push it into their leading edge of their shield, so it kind of tables, or so it pulls that back edge forward. I guess it should be like, I'm backwards here, but you bring that back edge of the shield forward and you can reach around it a lot easier. The other thing you could probably do is you block, and if you can bring their whole defense up by going like this, and just kind of fake that, bring their shield up, you might be able to come down and get an underhand underneath it if you can't get the back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I just
Okay.
wonder. So I've not used a ice pick grip very much at all. So I was just wondering how difficult the power generation is for that. Is that like all in the arm, or is there a way to kind of link your hips with that? Or
if you're hitting in the face, you're not going to have a problem with it.
well, sure.
Yeah. Boy, that's a good question. It's gonna cope. Yeah.
There's a couple things. To generate power, when you're throwing in, you're going ice pick. That's an odd. I don't do that. But if you drop your knees and your whole body, you can bring the whole force of that down. When you've got a little dagger, you're not getting a lot of force, and people are not going to take that shot. I always accompany it with like an "arr" when I hit, "arr, arr, arr," and it gets them. And I mean, it's silly, but they take the shot.
And Cope's not a huge person either. But so listen to her on that. So even if you're doing forward, like a forward or ice pick, you can probably use either one of those, or use that for either.
Yeah, making the noise and dropping your body into it.
Yep. And if you haven't used it yet, try it out, and just don't get discouraged if it's not working right away. Ask other people questions, or maybe they'll have ideas that you can try out. Just because it doesn't work right away, don't be discouraged. But if that's and don't be afraid to try different things too. Whether it's a longer dagger in your standard hold, or a dangle mace. It's really personal preference, and once you find the weapon that you like, you'll figure out how to use it, and how to make people take it, and how to make good shots with it. To ask questions. Ask a lot of questions from people that have been doing spear and backup weapon, they'll probably have some idea on, oh, hey, I saw this person do this. Even if, like me, for dangle mace, I've seen other people use different backup weapons, like Cope and a couple other people too. So ask a lot of questions. Are you a spear fighter now?
Yeah. I've kind of fallen out of the SCA for the past few years, but yeah, I used to do spear all the time.
Okay. And if you see me, Pelinor, I'm always ready to talk about spear, backup weapons, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, just grab me. I'll either be in Dark Moon garb or in a red tunic with a black crawdad on it. One or the other. But yeah, if just ask me and I'll talk about it for hours if people let me.
Awesome.
You find that the clicker maces are better or the rubber heads?
Personally, I like the clicker maces. I find that the rubber heads, they have a really good thump and they have good force, but they don't make that clack that most people are when somebody hears that clack, they know that they've been hit by something, because they're used to being hit by swords. In a melee, you get hit by a thump and you might just think it's somebody bumping you or something like that. Now, that may not be true as much if he is trying to run you down, but still, you're either way, you're going to want to hit him more than just once and expect him to take it. I usually go head, back, about the shoulder blades. Most people have something there for armor, and then the back of the thigh as I'm going by. Yep. Any other questions, Sarah?
That's everything that I had.
Okay. Anybody else?
So
Yes,
Pelinor,
Nora.
have you tried using like a dagger with a lanyard on it, as you know, like essentially the same way you're using your mace, but using a dagger in that fashion? Or
I have not.
Or are you always just going from a sheath or something on your belt?
I tried a sheath sheath dagger at one time on my back, and I had and here I didn't take my own advice, and I didn't do it for a long term. I did it a few times. I just didn't like it. Like if we were in a press, it would get caught on people, and I didn't really like that. I probably should have tried maybe a front with a shorter dagger. I think I might have liked that better. I don't know, maybe.
Well, I
or maybe
noticed
a shorter one in the back.
using the mace, you were able to chamber it and get in your hand, and to me in a proper position, like right where I would want it to be able to hit with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the lanyard actually helps keep it right where it's supposed to go. And it seemed like, you know, people used to use the hammers and they dangle them up, but a lot of times they used it too long of a lanyard, and it would get, a spear would go through it, or it get caught, or it gets wrapped around something, and your wrist is now attached to that. You can't go.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
It looked to me like you didn't have those problems with the way you were configuring your mace.
No, because really, you want me to open up that video again? We can look at that real quick.
Sure.
Let me do that. Can you guys
I
see
just
that?
know how long it takes for me to get. No, you're not.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me share that again.
Kelly, while you're doing that, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of different types of full gauntlets available out there. Are there any that you specifically suggest to use particularly well with this method, or is there any issues related to using a mitten rather than full finger or anything related to that?
Good question. So you'll notice that my gauntlets, they don't have the bell that goes all the way around. So it's a little easier for me to put that mace on and stuff. Some people with the cuff that goes all the way around will actually put the mace inside this way. So it's inside the bell or inside the cuff. And then it's still, it'll still lay nicely there. I believe it takes some getting used to on where that's hanging. But also some people with the full cuff, I have seen also, instead of hanging it from their wrist, they will actually attach it to 2 points on the cuff, on the inside of the cuff, so that when you drop it down, it'll lay there too. And that also is just a really short lanyard type thing. They might have it clipped there. They might have it attached other ways, but they would actually attach it to the cuff. So really, there again, you probably want to try some different gauntlets before you buy, because if you really want to have a dangle mace or a dangle dagger, something like that, you might want to try out one and see how it's going to work for you. So I don't know, like the mitten, they have those mitten gauntlets out that are all cloth with actually metal splints inside of them. The way those cuffs are, I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but you could probably make it work. So it really depends on your personal preference on gauntlets. I haven't tried a lot of different ones. I'm using egg gauntlets, and I've used them for 20 some years. My only issue with that is the thumb, that if you get it hit straight down, you can get a jammed thumb, but just don't hold your spear like that. Put your thumb around it. This is when you'll get your thumb jammed in like that. So that's what I use, but I have seen people using other ones successfully also. They've just figured out how to hang their dangle weapon so that it works. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Can you guys see this video? All right. So we're going to move up here. You see there's very little area in there where the lanyard is for a spear to get into. It'd be very hard to get one in there. The other thing with a longer lanyard, that's where you would have to flip it up into your hand. Because if you just drop your hand, it's going to be farther than where your hand is. You'd have to try and hitch it up. Even though I know I did that in one of these videos, but not only do you have to, might you get a spear in there, but you've got to try and get it into your hand a different way. And trying to flip it up like that in the front, that's a good chance for either you're going to miss your hand, or if somebody's throwing a shot, they could just knock it out of the way, whether on purpose or not. And then it's not in your hand as fast as you want it to be.
Well, to me, and even if you practice that and we're pretty good at it, it takes more time than it took to do it the way you did it. I mean, that was a third of the time, because I've tried doing that like with a hammer, and it's all fun if you can get it to work right, but it's not near as effective.
Yeah. The other thing with a mace versus like a dagger, if you're going to hit with it, the mace, when it's in my hand, I can hit with any side of it. I don't have to worry about the cutting edge. And the same with either an axe, a short axe, or a short hammer. You have to worry about what you're hitting with. Are you still seeing my other screen? All right, let me get out of that.
Yeah, I'm seeing your screen with your Word document open there.
Okay. Well, those are my notes over there. Let's see.
I can put it back to normal if you like.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I had a spear-related question.
Okay.
It's not specifically for the backup weapon, but because I'm newer, I'm getting into the spear situation. And I like that somebody asked a question about a sheath, because my husband and I were going to make some, and now we might not. The question was, does it matter what dominant hand you are? Because you were showing left hand and right hand back on the spear. Does it make a difference?
It's personal. It's all personal preference, really. I did left and right because I know some people that that prefer right hand, and I know people that prefer left hand. And I'm actually a right-handed person, and I know a lot of people that start fighting pole arm a lot will fight left hand back on spear. Because a lot of people fight pole arm left hand back, I believe. Isn't that right, Cope?
I'm thinking about it. I fight left hand back because my right wrist is so bad.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not using the right wrist a lot.
So
it's just guiding.
The other thing is that you're fighting spear, you need to be able to fight both ways, because there's going to be times like in a bridge battle, if you're on one side of the bridge, like if you're on the left hand side of the bridge and you're fighting right hand spear, you might have to switch to left to get the angle that you want. Or like if I'm fighting left hand back and I'm on the right hand, I've had to switch to right hand to get that angle around that shield. So I told you earlier, I said that when I was fighting, when I went to the dangle mace, I started fighting left hand back because of that mace going all around, right? Okay, the other part of me changing over to left hand back is the angle that I get on right-handed shields as my opponent, okay? Because I can go forward and around their shield and get a nice body shot a little bit easier than I can with the right hand. Does that make sense?
It does. I was just curious if there was any particular strategic
there again, it's all personal preference on how you want to fight, but you really do want to practice both left hand back and right hand back, because there will become times when you really need that shot. And I know even now, after fighting for so long left hand back, I get a little uncomfortable right hand back sometimes, just because I don't do it as often, but I still do, and it comes right back. So yeah, personal preference, but you still need to practice both. I know we have some more time. If anybody has any questions on just regular spear fighting, I'm welcome to entertain questions for that.
I'll ask a question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead, please.
I was going to ask, do you prefer fiberglass or another kind of another kind of spear shaft? I
guess I'd have to say fiberglass. I've only picked up a rattan spear like once or twice, and it was just way more wobbly than I liked. I like the control that fiberglass gives me. Now, I have used a couple of different spliced spears, and it may have been they weren't quite tight enough, but they seemed wobbly to me too. So I didn't. I stopped using a splice spear. Because I just wasn't happy with the control.
They're hard to get to where they fit real tight, and then they have a less of a lifespan out of them, because as you wear that down, taking it apart and putting it back together, you're going to eventually either bore it out a little more or take the splice down, and you either have to make a new splice or get a new spear, whichever you want to do, but you're going to have to work on it. It's going to have more maintenance.
Right. I can do a corollary comment on fiberglass spears for length, because we are allowed up to 12-foot length in the mid realm. Okay, not everywhere out of the mid realm does that. But we did some in Darkland. We did some practice with. We had a 12-foot spear. We had some 10-foots. We had a normal 9-foot, and the 12-foot spear. I would not suggest using that. It just wears you down because of the extra weight out on the extra 3 feet, and that weight, it just wears you down over time, and it is harder to control the tip. Now, if you go down to what we found for a reasonable longer spear length is 10 foot. That extra foot only weighs a little bit more, so it's pretty much like about the same control as what you have with a 9-foot, but you have that extra foot that you can reach a little bit farther. Now, we practiced with those all through the summer. And then, and I don't think we even used a 9-foot. We just practiced with the 10-foots in our melees and stuff. The problem was when we went to an event later in the summer, but before Penzic, and we had to go they only allowed 9-foot. We were missing our shots by 6 inches because we were used to throwing the 10-foot, and you don't want to overshoot. So we were missing people, short shooting. So we went back to practicing with the 9-foot, and it's easier to go from 9-foot and then go to a 10-foot and use that at an event, and then back to the 9-foot and still be used to the 9-foot length when you go to Penzic or any other events that specify a 9-foot spear over any of the longer ones. Any other questions?
Well, a lot of my guys in Stallgeist like to fight spear goofy foot forward, for lack of a better word, to get the extra reach.
Yep.
I don't notice you guys doing that. I was just curious if I miss it or.
I do every once in a while, if I need that extra reach. So if I need the extra reach, or I'm fighting at my normal stance, and they're getting used to where my reach is, I'll switch to goofy foot and throw that shot to surprise them with a little extra reach. So it's not that I don't do it. It's just that I choose my points when I do. Yeah. And there again, it's another toolbox, another tool in your toolbox to be able to do. It's a little odd when you're standing goofy foot, but and what I try to do is keep my tip in the same general location as when I'm in my normal stance, just to make it, especially if I'm in a shield line, then my shields on either side of me can kind of hide that goofy foot and give me that extra reach. Yeah. Good question.
Okay, let me ask a quick question. When you're saying goofy foot, we may want to define that so somebody watching the video who's maybe newer will understand what you're talking about.
Okay. So if I'm fighting right hand back, my feet are going to be, my left foot's forward and my right foot is back. Okay.
Correct.
Goofy foot would be where I switched my feet. So my right foot is forward and my left foot is back, but I'm still right hand back. Or opposite of that, if I'm left hand back, normally I'm right foot forward, left foot back. Goofy foot would be left foot forward, right foot back. And generally, my hand would be just behind my hip in the goofy foot. So it would keep my spear generally in the same position.
And that'll give you a little bit more of an extra reach when you do it that way, as opposed to how you normally have your legs configured if you had your right hand back or whatever.
It does, because if you don't step forward, you're like, if I'm right hand back, you can do this in your chair right there. My right hip is back farther than my left hip. And when I go forward, if I don't step forward,
take a step.
My right hand, my right hip will stay where it is roughly, maybe rotate some, and I can throw a shot. So now if you rotate your chair around, so your right hip is forward, okay, and you're kind of twisted around here, now throw your shot forward and see, you can see your hand is closer to your screen as opposed to here. By about, mine is about 6 or 8 inches difference if I do that.
But again, that's something somebody would have to practice to be comfortable with doing that and to make really good use of it as a tool.
It takes a little bit of practice, getting used to it, yeah. And especially being able to hide it a little bit. You can't really hide it when you're doing one-on-one, but when you're in a melee and you're in a shield wall, it's a little bit easier to hide it. As long as you keep your spear in the same position where the tip is, You can even just switch it right in the middle without people seeing it because of the shields that are in front of you.
Do you want to maybe, it seemed like Sarah had some interest in building some sheaths. Do you have any good advice that you would give folks as to, I've seen everything from just PVC rings, you know, it's just one ring that they've got stuck through, to, I know Vitus makes some really nice, like all leather sheaths with all that stuff. Sometimes I find that the more elaborate can be overly complicated, and it's harder to get your weapon in and out of there.
I think I've only built a couple. Personally, I like a leather sheath because you can make it so it kind of snugs your sword and kind of holds it where you want it. Whereas a PVC, it's going to be a specific diameter, and it's not really going to snug onto your weapon. I know there's people that have those.
Yeah, my PVC.
Yeah, but that's why we find weapons.
Armor, but yeah. I've got leather around
you're
the top.
You're going to find weapons all over the field.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Go ahead.
I was just saying my PVC for my dagger has a leather collar with tabs that go in, and it puts pressure onto the leather.
Oh, there you go.
It's capped, and when it's freshly taped and put together right, and I pull it, it pops. It makes a little pop noise from the vacuum. It's adorable.
Is the leather collar that you're talking about, is it glued onto the interior of your PVC? Is that how you got it affixed?
It's actually on the outside and the inside. Yeah. I'd have to go pull it it's in my armor bag.
So you're essentially doing what somebody would do with the longer, like leather sheath. I'm thinking of the ones that like Vitus makes, which is a whole sheath thing, and it looks pretty good, you know, as far as the look of it. But you're just doing it more with a section of PVC and not the whole weapon, or are you doing the whole weapon, or what?
No, the whole weapon is in, but the whole weapon, the handle, the whole weapon's only this long. It was actually given to me by Sir Will Ransom as kind of a favor, as opposed to an actual weapon. I was having some trouble with some pickups, and he was like, "You need a backup weapon," and he gave me this thing. But yeah, when it's put together right and it's taped and it's got the leather and the tip, it's a stabby tip, so it's got foam on the end. When you pull it out, the whole thing it's snug, so snugly set in there that the vacuum makes a nice pop when you pull it.
So I would suggest not only spears, but polearms have a backup weapon, just in case. I mean, polearms have a lot more utility in when for using it when somebody's attacking them, but in a crush or something like that, it's not a bad idea to have a backup weapon.
And I don't have to leave the field because I've been disarmed.
Right. Or even if you have been armed in one of your arms, you still have something that you can be doing. It's really hard to work a 9-foot spear with one arm. I've done it. I've killed people that way, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it has to be the right circumstance too.
Yeah, I would warn people with your daggers, the longer they get, the more they get in the way. On a field battle, you're great, but you get into some of those bridges with the crushes, and you get knocked backwards, you land on them, they get hooked on other people's armor. So just keep that in mind when you're building your sheath, where it's going to land. That's where the dagger in the boot comes in.
My mace is 18 inches. I wouldn't go any longer than that.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing about backup weapons, they are not armor. So if like with my dangle mace, if it gets hit, I have to take that as a leg or body or wherever it was hit. So that's something to keep in mind also. It doesn't happen very often because I'm usually working behind shields, or if I am getting run down, I'm going after them with the mace. But you do have to keep that in mind as per the rules of our fighting. That if you do get hit in the mace with a pole arm or sword, you do have to take that as a good shot.
I had a question. You talked about you prefer clacker maces. Do you build them, or is there somewhere you specifically buy them from?
I build them. So what this is a clacker mace. Okay, you can see the cross section, and I will take a piece of rattan that's, it's just a chunk that I cut off of a sword, and I'll cut it in half, and then take off all the sharp edges on the ends and on the sides, and then put that over top of foam. Put some foam in between the two, the haft and the clacker, so you have a little bit of give that you're supposed to have, and then strapping tape the heck out of it so it's not going to go anywhere, and then put my colored tape on top of that. That's basically how I build mine. And I usually, because it's a half a thickness of rattan, a lot of times I usually rebuild it every spring, because those usually start splitting after you've used it for quite a while, and they just need to be, just take the whole thing apart. Most of the time, the foam will still be good. It'll last several years, and so I can reuse that most of the time and just put new clackers on it and be good to go. This piece of rattan right here, I've had the same piece of rattan for about 20 years, and just and you can see where it's frayed, kind of. That's from my gauntlets rubbing on them and all that good stuff. So a funny thing that can happen if you're using a dangle mace is every once in a while the lanyard will break, and it's quite humorous to people on the sideline when I go like this, and all at once there's no mace there. I'm going, thunk. That's usually what happens. I've been told it's quite humorous from the sideline, and I'll laugh with them because sure. But that does happen also every once in a while. So what I do for that is the hole that I have in going through here, it's drilled through, but not just drilled. Then you do a countersink on the side, so it eases the edges, so it won't just cut through your string. And I'm using 550 cord with the center of it out. No, the center of it's in. But I'm using 550 cord, and that lasts a long time. So once you find a length that you like to use, I would suggest just keep using that length, or even the same piece of rattan for as long as you can.
Do you use your dangle mace with your pole arm?
Yes, I do. I don't use pole arm very often, but when I do use pole arm, I have a dangle mace. Anytime I'm not fighting sword and shield, I will have my backup weapon.
So is this primarily with like a 7.5 foot pole?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that would give the most utility, especially for a melee situation, as opposed to a 6 foot one or something like that.
Usually, if I'm doing a 6 foot pole arm, it's going to be in single combat, just like the spear, a 6 foot spear. That's a single combat weapon. I went to an event once, and it was supposed to be all single combat, so I just took a 6 foot spear. Ended up they had melee, so I'm fighting in melee with a 6 foot spear. I got killed a lot, just because they could reach me a little bit better. And the other reason is because the guy on the other side knew me and sent people after me to kill me. I had fun anyways. There's a picture somebody took, and I've got that somewhere, of me actually stabbing a guy in the eye. It was pretty funny. Let's see. Oh, and if you want to get better at 9 foot spear, fight 6 foot spear singles with people, because it's a lot closer and things happen a lot faster. And then after you get used to that, you go back to 9 foot, and it's almost like things slow down because you have that extra 3 foot for people to come at you. It's just incredible how much more you see with the 9-foot spear after you've been using a 6-foot spear in single combat. So that's a good practice tool also for your melee spear, for your 9-foot spear. I know we have about 4 more minutes, right? Anybody else have anything for me, or anything I can do for you? All right. Well, I thank all of you for coming.
This.
What's that?
I said, thanks for presenting this. I still don't have a good backup weapon.
This is something that I have taught in person, and it's a little easier there than in this. I hope you've picked up a few things. If you see me, ask questions. I'm always happy. But this is something that I haven't seen videos of anywhere, or I haven't really seen many people teaching this other than me. So I hope you did get something out of this. And if I know this is being recorded, so you can go back and reference it again. Happy spearing.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Everybody have a good evening.
Have a good evening. My pleasure. Thank you, guys. Bye.